The killing of Ali Khamenei and the rise of his son Mojtaba as the supreme leader have triggered a wave of commentary about what comes next for Iran. To understand Iran's political trajectories and future directions after Ali Khamenei, we need to look back at history. Because Mojtaba's rise is not simply the beginning of a new chapter, it is the culmination of a process that has been unfolding for decades. To understand where Iran may be heading, we need to understand how the Islamic Republic have transformed since the early 1990s. That transformation can be understood in three stages. First, economic restructuring and the rise of what I call the military-bonyad complex. Second, the way international sanctions consolidated that order. And third, how the current war has completed this process by pushing the state further toward securitized role. The first stage begins after the end of the Iran-Iraq war. From the 1990s onward, Iran underwent a long process of market-oriented restructuring. Public assets were transferred to quasi-state conglomerate, parastatal foundations, and politically connected institutions. It was on this terrain, especially after 2005, that the military-bonyad complex took shape. As major sectors of the economy were opened up to so-called public and non-governmental entities, many state-owned enterprises were transferred to firms linked to the Revolutionary Guards and major religious revolutionary foundations known as bonyads. The office of the Supreme Leader became the institutional anchor of this coalition, overseeing the armed forces, key foundations, and the appointment of leading figures across the unelected institutions of the state. By the end of the 2000s, this had produced a governing architect in which coercive power and parastatal capital were fused and insulated from accountability. The second stage is sanctions. After 4 rounds of UN security sanctions between 2006 and 2010, the United States escalated with sweeping unilateral and extraterritorial sanctions targeting Iran's oil exports, financial system, and access to international banking. And after the US withdrawal from the nuclear deal in 2018, sanctions expanded further. So sanctions did not undo the political and economic transformation already underway. They deepened it. They inflicted enormous damage on society at large, but they also empowered the actors best positioned to operate through opacity, coercion, and sanction evasion. As former channels of trade and finance narrowed, shadow networks, protected intermediaries, and conglomerates linked to the Revolutionary Guards and religious revolutionary foundations became more valuable. So the result was not simply a weaker Iranian state, it was a more securitized one. Then comes the third stage, war. If economic restructuring built this order, and sanctions consolidated, war has now completed the process. The war has compressed decision-making, narrowed the regime tolerance for uncertainty, and expanded the authority of the institutions most invested in governing through emergency, surveillance, securitization, and force. This is the real significance of the present moment. Before the war, the Islamic Republic was already deeply repressive, but wartime conditions give repressions a new political language and a new operational framework. Now, the distinction between foreign army and domestic opponent can be collapsed more easily. Dissent can be treated as sabotage, protest can be framed as treason, and society itself can be governed more openly as an object of threat management. This is why the rise of Mojtaba Khamenei after the killing of his father should be seen as the political expression of a longer historical process, a process in which economic restructuring created the military-bonyad complex as the dominant fractions of the ruling class inside the state. Sanctions entrenched debt, capital fractions, and political black further, and war has now pushed the entire system toward a more fully securitized form of rule. So, when we ask about Iran's after Ali Khamenei, the central question is what kind of a state is now taking shape inside Iran? What we are seeing is not simply continuity at the top, but the hardening of a political order in which coercive power, parastatal capital, sanctions management, and wartime rule increasingly reinforce one another. This does not mean the Iranian society has been pacified, nor that the horizon opened by movements such as the Women, Life, Freedom Revolt has disappeared. It means the condition for politics from below has become harsher.